we are back for our last day of week 6 as we go and explore all these amazing things about our solar system. And we engineered this week. It was a really fun time getting out of this world and into our solar system. And we are going to cap it off by making a fun little paper circuits project, which will be a sun, and then we'll be able to draw our happy little planets in our solar system. And we'll learn some fun facts about our planets as we draw those little planets in. And before we get to shout outs, I just really want to talk about the supplies that we're going to need to make this project, and we'll make it together. And if you're a new family, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our other social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram. And if you want to support our program, you can always go to patreon.com/rosieresearch and make sure to give us some thumbs up. So today what you will need is we have a printout that you should have. It came into your email inbox right before we went live, and it also came in your little weekly summary. If you don't have this, that's okay. You can just use a plain sheet of paper and you can wire it up the same way. You just won't have the template showing you where to wire it. And then you can also draw in your planets. And a piece of paper, scrap paper is okay. This is sort of like old paper from misprints that we can make our sun out of. You'll need a pair of scissors for cutting our sun out. And then for the paper circuit part, you need the copper tape, an LED, a battery, and then some sort of non-conductive tape like Scotch tape or masking tape. And if you are just joining our program, welcome. And if you need these items, you can just let me know. If you send me your address, I've been mailing out a lot of little packets of these projects that everybody can do them, even if you can't get the stuff off of Amazon right now. So that, oh, and markers. You need some markers or colored pencils or crayons, whatever we're gonna make our happy little planets. Oh, I'm sure she'll show up.
I'm sure she'll show up.
All right, so here is our fabulous little paper circuit template. I'm actually gonna flip it over, I think, this way so I can see it a little better.
If you guys are having any trouble seeing it all or any technical issues, let me know.
Yeah, let Evan know and he'll fix them for you. All right, so what we always do with our paper circuits is we start with our copper tape. So this is our copper tape, and it has this backing that is white on it. And you want to measure out about how long you will need for each piece of copper tape, and you can rip it with your hands. If this is your first time with paper circuits, the trickiest part is actually getting the paper circuit, the tape started. And once you get it started, and you can peel it back a little bit, you want to start sticking it to your paper right away once you have this little bit of a T. If you instead peel it all the way off, ooh, see, sometimes it'll even rip peeling off, but it gets really stringy and curly, and it gets really hard to work with. So what we do is we always peel it and tape it at the same time so that it can't get those little ringlets. So again, we're gonna get it started right here. I just use my nail, and I just have to press it. This can be the hardest part, especially for little hands. Once you get it started, it's usually not quite so tricky. There we go. All right, so now that's started, and I've got my little T right here, I'm going to place it and stick it down onto my short leg, which is my brighter yellow. And I'm going to just peel it and stick it. See how as I peel it, I stick it down. So I peel it, stick it down, and that makes it so it's a little easier. It doesn't get all stringy or it doesn't get all curly on me. And then when we get to a corner, we don't want to rip it right here and then do a new piece of tape going down, because the electrons that would try to go through here actually would have to have this great runway, and then they would have to climb up through a bunch of sticky glue to go down to the battery, and they do not enjoy doing that. It'll break your circuit. So what we do here, there's a couple ways. One of the ways is you could bend it backwards and then pull forwards. Another way I found out is if you give yourself just a little bit, like maybe an inch like this, what you can do is you can move it and press it to where you want, and then take this little sort of blippy piece and just gently press it down, and it makes that fold for you. And now we still have one piece of copper tape. And we're going to continue to put that down as we go. And I'm sort of re-steering it as I go down. I want to make sure I hit this gray circle, because that's where I'm going to end up putting my battery. And then what you can do is you can take your fingernail and you can actually press it really nicely to flatten that out. So So we have one part of our circuit done. And so now we're going to do this piece right here. So again, we'll measure it out, how much we need. And this one goes a little bit longer. Don't be inclined to stop right here. Make sure you go all the way over because we're going to actually bend this piece up, and that's what's going to create our switch for us. So we'll get it started again. Just trying to get under with a nail. And once it's started, we can now immediately start sticking it down. So I'll stick it down like that, and then I'm going to slowly peel that white backing off and stick it down as I go. And then once I get to this bottom piece right here, again, I'm going to give myself maybe about 1 inch of tape, and then I can just stick it down however I want. And this piece of tape right here, I can sort of fold into itself to make it look nice. And I will continue to follow that line all the way over. And it's better to go a little slowly and peel it off nice and slow than it is to go quickly, because once you rip it, the best way if you want your circuit to be really nice, once you rip it, you got to start that line over. All right, so I'm just peeling and sticking at the same time, just like that. And then I can also, again, take my thumbnail and press things down. And this part's a little sticky. Maybe I'll put a piece of Scotch tape over that later. All right, so the next thing that we do with our paper circuits is we always test our battery and our LEDs. So our LEDs, they have a long leg here and a short leg there. And the reason why we make them that way is because when we go through the circuit, the LEDs, they sort of climb up a slide and they make their light as they're having a lot of fun going down the slide. So this tells us which way the slide is going, and LEDs will never, ever go up a slide. So if we put both legs on our battery like this, we don't actually have a circuit. We need to go from the bottom of the battery to the top. So if we put both legs here, we don't have a circuit. We don't have any light. If we put both legs on the bottom, it's the same thing. We're not going from the top of the battery to the bottom of the battery. You need to make a circle with that. So that doesn't light up. And then if we take the short leg and we put it on the top of the battery, and then the long leg on the bottom, we're actually now making a circuit. So we go from the top through the LED into the bottom, so it makes a circle. But our LED doesn't light up because the slide is the wrong direction. So what we can do is if we flip it over, and we have it so that the top long leg, the long leg is on the top of the battery and the short leg is on the bottom, we now see that it lights up. And our little electrons can go from the top of the battery, through the leg, into that LED, slide down and have fun, light up, and then they go into the bottom of the battery. So now I know my battery works and my LED works, and that's really useful if our projects don't work right away, because it tells us that it's not the battery or the LED. So then I'm going to take some non-conductive tape, Scotch or masking tape, and I'm going to tape my battery so I can see the letters still onto that gray square. And I want to leave some of the top open. So you'll notice I'm sort of taping around the top of the battery. And that's because I want to make it so that this piece of tape can touch the top of the battery. If it touches tape instead, it won't work. So we got to make sure that we don't cover the top of this battery with just tape. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my LED and I'm going to split the legs apart just a little bit like this. And that long leg is going to get taped to the one that goes straight down, and the short leg is going to get taped to the piece that goes to the side. And I like to press it down sort of nicely before I tape it. And then trickily, we're going to get some extra tape. And again, you want to use like a Scotch tape or a masking tape to tape the legs in. We only want to use the copper tape when we're making a piece of the circuit for the electrons to run around in. So I'm going to tape this guy down here. I'm going to press it really good, make sure that it gets a good connection there. And I'm going to take another piece of tape and tape the other leg down. We got to tape both legs down to make sure that that's working. And I'm going to press nice and hard on that. And then to test my circuit, what I'll do is down here, there's these green dotted lines, and I'm going to actually just fold along those green dotted lines, which very handily makes this piece of tape go straight up right over the battery. And when I do that, when it touches the battery, my LED lights up. So that tells me I am doing a great job. My circuit is all ready and I can start my other stuff. Now, if you want it to be like sort of always on, like right now I have to press it, you could either put a piece of tape here across it, or you could put like a clip right there. I might just put a piece of tape across it, just like this. And, oop, it needs a little bit more. We could even press right here a little bit better. Make that a little better. And now it's staying on by creasing that a little bit better. Awesome, so now we have our little circuit that is all set up. Our LED is working. And what we have left is now we need to make a solar system. So I have all of my markers here, and we can draw a happy little sun to get started with having a sun that has it. So we can make our fun little sun who, you know, I might just cut the circle out because there's gonna be a lot of ridges to cut out. I didn't think about that just now, until just now. But I'm gonna add some cute little eyes. The way I make my cute eyes is one big circle, and then you can do a medium circle inside and a little circle off to the side of it, and then you color in. The better you color this in, the cuter the eyes are. Like that. You can make whatever kind of eyes you want.
These are Draw So Cute Eyes.
These are called, yeah, Draw So Cute Eyes. If you're looking for some awesome art, there's a YouTube channel called Draw So Cute, and she makes adorable little things. So I could make my sun like that, and then I'm going to cut it out. I'm actually going to cut just the circle out, and I'm going to put these on my paper. So I'm going to cut this piece out, so I'll have a fun little sun. And these suns we're going to put on top of that LED, and it's going to glow really nicely. It's going to look super cool in the dark after we put those suns on and make them glow.
Could they give more planets glow like LEDs if they wanted to?
If you wanted to, yeah, you could make more planets. We could talk about how we would do that. It might be a little trickier. So to make my sun, I'm actually going to do all the fun little side things underneath. So I'm going to do it like this. So it'll be sort of under my sun. Oop. And maybe I want orange in there too. I wonder if I have orange with me. I don't think I do, but I think this, well, we're going to stick with yellow. So we got our awesome little sun sprout pieces. I'm going to put this guy right on top. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do a piece of roll tape. So I'm going to take a nice long piece of tape. Not quite like that. We're going to throw that piece of tape away. Nice long piece of tape. I'm going to make a big roll. And the reason why I want a big roll is I want this to be able to sit on top of the LED, my sun. So I want it to be sort of hanging out. There we go. And now when I press on it, you can have this like fun little backlight picture of it, and it's happy and it's staying there. So now our next thing that we're gonna need is our planets. So you'll notice there's actually little orbits on here. We have 4 orbits really close to the sun. Those are for our inner planets, and our inner planets are Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. And then we have sort of a big gap. In fact, between this gap is an asteroid belt, so if we wanted to, we could draw some asteroids there. And then we have 4 more orbits that are far bigger, and these are our outer planets, or our gas giants. So we have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune as these outer planets. And to give you an idea of actual size, if our sun was 5 feet, so if it was maybe slightly shorter than your mom and dad, the Earth would be the size of a marble, and it would be like a 1/4 mile away. So these distances here are not accurate. It's far more vast space, but this is a fun way to do this. So our first planet, the innermost planet that we have, is called Mercury, and I always draw Mercury black because Mercury is kind of like this like planet of old lava. It's like a lot of volcanic rock. And interestingly, Mercury, closest planet to the sun, is not actually the hottest planet, which I don't know if that surprises you, but it really surprises me. And that's because the hottest planet of the sun in our solar system, is Venus. Venus is like a ball of fire. And you might be wondering, Dr. Erica, how is it possible that the closest planet to the sun is not the hottest, because that's like the closest to the oven pretty much. How is the thing closest to the oven not the hottest? And that's because Mercury doesn't have an atmosphere. Kind of like how we have an atmosphere, it helps keep our oxygen in, it helps us breathe. It also creates that greenhouse effect, which we talked about a few weeks ago when we were out in the garden and building greenhouses. And Mercury doesn't have that. So Mercury gets really, really hot during the day, and then at night gets really, really cold. So the side of the planet that's not facing the sun gets really, really cold. Venus has an atmosphere, and in fact, it had runaway greenhouse gases. So Venus is pretty much a ball of lava. We can't actually land something on Venus and let it sit there for a long period of time. When we land on Venus, we have to get data back as fast as we can, because otherwise it's just going to burn up. It burns up within a day. It's so hot on Venus. And then we have our next planet, which I'm guessing you guys are all very familiar with.
Wait, should we get some guesses? What's the next planet?
What's the next planet? What do you guys think?
Anybody know what the next planet is? We should guess on all these
Clue. We should. A clue is that I picked up a blue and green marker.
I see no guesses coming in.
No
Maybe
guesses.
Everybody is decorating their...
That's totally fine. Our next planet is the only planet in the universe known to hold life. And that planet would be the planet Earth. Georgia just shouted it out from the Lego bin. Planet Earth is the only planet known to have life. So that is the third planet. And then the last planet that we have...
Let's see.
As
We had some guesses that time, so maybe we can find some more guesses.
All right, what do you guys think our last planet is? It's called the Red Planet. We have landed on the Red Planet a lot. I'm going to maybe use this one for red. We've landed on this planet a lot. In fact, we even have a little machine up there that collects samples and is waiting for those samples. So I'm curious what you guys think. I'm going to draw it in red because it is the Red Planet. We'll see if we know it. And I'm going to start labeling these. So we have Mercury. It was going to be hard for me to write upside down. But we have Mercury.
We've got 5 answers. We've got the Hertz say Mars. Griffin says Mars. Leonard and Barbara say Mars. Kaya says Mars. The Broadwell family says Mars. I think everybody agrees.
I think everybody agrees. It's Mars, and I agree with everybody. All right, I'm labeling my planets. And you guys are right. This one is Mars. Just like that. And between Mars and our next planet, which is our big gas giant, you guys can send some guesses about what that planet is. It's the biggest planet. In fact, we call it a failed star. But in between Mars and that failed star is a big belt of asteroids. So these are sort of leftover junk from our planet's forming. This is sort of the leftover stuff. And it's the stuff that sometimes, if it falls out of this asteroid belt, might come into our orbit and create craters. These things could maybe bring things like water to us. And so these guys are hanging out
asteroid belt.
In this asteroid belt. And then that asteroid belt, after that asteroid belt, we have the largest planet in our solar system. So that is our 5th planet. It is the largest planet. It's a failed star. There is an eye on this one. You guys haven't guessed it yet. There's an eye on this one. Where am I? I'm on this guy right here.
I've got one guess so far.
Let's hear it.
But it's from Griffin. Oh, 2 guesses. Griffin and George and Henry guess Jupiter, and so do the Broadwells.
They are all right. It is. I'm actually making my eye look kind of like a Pokemon ball.
How big is Jupiter?
Ooh, how big is Jupiter? I don't know that off the top of my head. I do know 100 Earths fit across the sun. I think 10 Earths fit across Jupiter.
10 Earths.
So I think Earth, there would be 10 of these. I think
that 100 Earths fit across the sun?
Yeah, it's 100 Earths that fit across the sun. But it's 1.3 million Earths that fit inside the sun.
So how many Earths fit inside Jupiter? 1,300 Earths.
Yeah, 1,000 Earths fit inside of Jupiter. Here is my storm. We'll put an eye in that storm. I'm going to draw a silly eye. It's going to actually be an eye. So this one is Jupiter. Interestingly enough, all of these planets out here that we are at, all of these larger gas planets, they all have rings. But the next planet is the one most famous for its rings. What color do I want to make this one? I am not sure.
Gold.
So this is the planet most famous for rings. You can ask Evan what you're thinking if you think you know it. I'm gonna
Let's
put
see. I
this
see
guy over here.
no answers yet. Let's see how fast people
So the
can
next
type.
planet has rings.
Oh man, we got one answer in.
And interestingly about these rings are only a few stories tall. So they're actually incredibly thin for how large they are. So Saturn would kind of fit between the Earth and the Moon. The rings of Saturn, not the ball of Saturn, but the rings of the planet would fit between Earth and the Moon, and yet they're only as thick as about a 3-story building.
What?
That's right. They're incredibly thin for how large they are.
So
It's
like
a
they're
little
as thin
crazy.
as a tall house?
Yeah.
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 Wow.
I know.
Saturn. Saturn is the correct answer. We got
Saturn.
4 correct answers in there.
Alrighty, so here is my Saturn. I'm gonna label that too. Saturn. And then next we have got a planet that, unlike all of our other planets sort of spin. They spin like a top. This planet does not spin like a top. It rolls like a ball. In fact, it's very perplexing for many scientists about what could be possibly going on in this planet, because it rolls like a ball and it's something we've never seen. And it's very curious. I'm curious if you guys know what this one is. It's very cold out there because it's really far from the sun. So we don't have
north.
life that we know of.
North.
North. It's not north. There's only 2 planets that we have left.
It's
And I'm going to just draw. So these guys all spin like a top. And this one, I'm just going to draw it rolls
I know too.
like a ball.
I know.
Like this. So it's actually, its rings go
I know.
the way that you would not think that they go. Do we have any guesses? Isabella's back there with a guess, but we're going to see if our YouTube friends have any
Let's
guesses.
see.
What do we have? I'll slowly start to type it.
We have a Griffin answer.
Okay. What does
It's
Griffin think?
Uranus, he says.
Yeah, it is Uranus. It is amazing, and it rolls like a ball. And then our last planet. Yes, our last planet. I know what you're thinking. Dr. Erica, where's Pluto? Our last planet's not Pluto, team. It's a tragedy. We can talk about it. We can mourn it together. But our last planet is not Pluto. And that's because our last planet is also not Unicornia.
It's not Unicornia.
No, not quite. This planet is covered in ice, but it's believed that it's all water under the ice. And they're actually curious if there's life in that water. This is kind of an interesting planet. It's normal. Again, it spins like a top. Uranus was the only one that was sort of silly and rolled like a ball. I'm curious if any of my friends have figured out what the last remaining planet is. Again, trick question, it's not Pluto. I guess it's not a trick question. It's not Pluto. It chose this pretty blue pen, and it's taking me a little while. All right, do we have any guesses for what this one is?
I think we have some guesses. Let's check. We have one guess from Isabella, and we have one guess from Griffin. Any other guesses?
Any other guesses? Our last one is Neptune.
Neptune.
Now, outside of Neptune is another asteroid. I know, I did say the word planet. It's a dwarf planet
I don't want it.
with its little heart.
You don't love it, Georgia?
And this one is named after our Disney character. And it is hanging out in that asteroid belt. So this is Pluto.
It's named
Right
after
here.
the
I think the
character.
Disney...
No, I don't think it's named after the Disney character.
Kaya has a question. They said they're struggling with copper tape, so maybe we can
Oh.
go over that.
We can totally go over some copper tape. Let me just finish in my asteroid belt area so that we can keep that dwarf planet. However, if Pluto was a true planet, if we had 9 planets, there's actually like 1,000 other bodies in this asteroid belt that would also qualify as planets. So, as we mourn Pluto, one thing we can take solace in is when you have your test in 5th grade or whatever grade you guys take it in, because I know that 5th graders have to know their planets. When you take that test, you only have 8 items on the test and not 1,008. Seems good to me, right? 1,008 seems like a lot. So those are our beautiful planets, and you can make this happy little planet thing. And we will go over, I'm going to take this guy off so we can take a look at our copper tape pieces. So just a reminder with our copper tape, there we go. Oops, I pulled a piece off. With our copper tape, you want to make sure that you have one long piece. So as you do that, you want one long piece. So you're going to take it and make sure that, I'm not sure, Kaya, what part you're struggling with, so we'll just go over the whole thing. Make sure that,
cover it in Zoom too.
Yes, and we'll cover it in Zoom. Make sure that you, as you pull off that tape, you then start sticking it down, and then you're gonna roll and stick. And then when you get here, you're gonna peel off a little extra. Let's pretend that we're over there. I don't know why I ripped it. I should just use that piece. When we're down over here, and we're trying to make this corner, so we're sort of coming along like this, you want to pull out like an inch, and then you can just move your copper tape down, and it will make that turn for you, and then you just press it down later.
So do that real slow for her again.
So again, here, it's like you'll press it down, you'll give yourself a nice chunk of space, and then you're just going to move the copper tape, because now I can move it around. I'm just going to press it down where I want it, and you can just press and smush it down to look pretty after that. So that's how you make those corners work, which is one of the hardest parts. And the other tricky part for these circuits, if you're having trouble, is this battery piece. You want to make sure you didn't tape over the top of that battery. So I have some tape coming here and the tape on the side, but this metal piece right here, this is all open right here. And I need that open so that this copper tape can touch it and it will turn on. It's not turning on now because I actually took off the tape on my LED legs. So that tape on your LED legs is really important. I accidentally took that off when I put my sun back in here. So now it works because both of those legs are taped in. Taping in just one leg is not as useful as taping in both legs. And then if we're still having trouble, we can totally work on that in Zoom too. So that is our fun, happy little solar system. I really like the way this turned out. The labels made it happy, even with like the upside down writing. So I am really excited to see everybody's projects in Zoom, and maybe you have some really interesting solar system facts that I didn't go over. And maybe you could teach me a thing or two in Zoom about our planets. I know we have a lot of planetary experts out there. Griffin. You guys are at the right age to like far surpass my planetary knowledge. So I'm excited to learn something in Zoom that you guys can teach me. And if your project isn't working right now, we'll be over in Zoom so you can hold it up and you can show me. And we have been doing an amazing job troubleshooting all of those paper circuit projects. I think for the most part, everybody has managed to make their paper circuit projects work. So come on over into Zoom for that. We're in our normal Zoom classroom. If you are supporting us, you've got our Zoom link in your Patreon emails. It comes, I think it comes through each time, and it's got the password to get into our Zoom meeting. If you want to come over into Zoom, you can head over to patreon.com/RosieResearch, and $1 a week is like the minimum that we can ask. We were going to do it for free, but it's sort of your buy-in to be able to get all of the downloads early, all of the emails giving you a heads up, and entrance into that Zoom classroom. Make sure that you spread the word about science, because we're going to be here for another 10 weeks. So exciting. I can't wait. We've got Engineering Week coming up next week. We're doing a Harry Potter week. We're doing an Out in the Wild week for our tadpoles. It's going to be so much fun. And that also reminds me, I forgot the Beatles arrived. We have, and I also learned the 4th Beatles name, we have John, Paul, Ringo, and George, who will be joining us as mealworms, because we're going to watch their metamorphosis in Zoom. They're not very exciting. They kind of dig down. But we have those guys we're going to watch in Zoom. They'll have a little Zoom spot that we can watch. And we'll be able to watch Tiny Dancer and Friends
There's more than
going through their metamorphosis of their tadpoles. So they'll go from tadpoles to frogs, and it's something that we're watching over the next 2 months or so. So that'll be fun. So just a quick reminder, make sure you like and spread the word, give us a thumbs up, and we will see you guys over on in Zoom. Have a great afternoon.
Bye, guys.
Bye, friends.